and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to this Ascension update with me, which will focus on not just cultivating our tantric life force and the force of the Holy Spirit to use for the greater good, but also how do we claim it? How do we gather it together and claim it so that we gain back our sovereignty and then choose our own timelines? So before I start on this note, I would like to share with you what was the energy feel as we've stepped into this new year. So as you know, maybe for a lot of you who have been feeling this, as we stepped into this year, how it felt for me was there was a lot of calmness. Not just because we're in this retrograde phase right now, but there's this calmness in terms of we're getting more focused in what are the actions we're going to choose. Because before, especially last year, we were very much in training in how we were cultivating our life force in terms of the discovery of our sacred alchemy within. And now this year, when we're going to be more invited to use it in terms of how we connect, how we master our life force as co-creator beings, not just beings who are victims, who are powerless in terms of what's happening in this matrix, but really how are we choosing our own timelines. And this is the emphasis of this video. So as you know, in each video that I provide and I offer these sharings is a deepening of what we've already gone through so that the whole group can benefit from this deepening. So we're just receiving, and I'm receiving as we're going, along this journey of physical ascension. So just this weekend we had a new moon, which actually started this year. This first lunation really began this year. And the energy brought with it the new energy wave, actually. So what took place here in my beautiful creation portal of the White Mountain Alps, I was suddenly guided and inspired to go to this very beautiful mountain pass we have here. We drove there very spontaneously and instantaneously. And as I came there, I felt very welcomed, as I always do when I come to my sacred mountains. It's like the whole life force responds to my energy and I respond to it. And it felt like this great energy wave. And we were just, that night was the new moon here in Europe, was on, I think it was on the 10th, in the middle of the night. So the energy shifted as I came there, and I always feel the energy through the wind. It speaks most directly, and the winds were very soft. They were very firm but very soft, and almost felt like one of those spring kind of winds. The energy was more southern based energy. And as I came there and I sat there on the bench, the energy started to spin, and the vortex was again starting to spin, and I was wondering, why am I there at that time, which is usually, the answer is in the question itself. But it was very obvious that an energy wave was taking place. So as I came home that night, and the next day we had pourings of rain, which is very unusual for January. Here we usually have snow. It was pouring all day. And in the middle of the night, we had strong lightnings and thunder, which again was very unusual. And I felt this new energy wave was coming through. And this is basically stabilizing what we're actually learning at this time, which is how to use, not just how to cultivate, gather within you, but now how do you use your life force? For me, this has always been something very natural. So when the life force comes, it's going to be creating this whirlpool of energy, and this gathering of the sacred life force will create a very strong divine passion within you. This passion will be your drive. It will be your magnetic indicator of where you need to be, where your energy needs to be. And then sometimes the life force, when there's a neutralization of the process, will just go away or move into another direction. This is always how Spirit always tells me that the beings, those of us who are working with the sacred life force, the energy always moves through us where the greatest, highest potential is offered. So we kind of know this on a very primal level that we don't always understand as humans. But for those of you really deeply guided into that, and I've had a few people who shared with me that they feel more initiated into the white light, and they kind of are learning how to work with the energy. Some of them were doing my mastery courses, or some of them haven't been on their own path. Whatever is fine. And what's happening now is there's going to be deepening of how we use our sacred will. But the first step is always you need to become your own sovereign. I will talk a bit about what's happening on the planet as in many different agendas towards the end of the video when I'm going to mention the timelines. But first, still some words in this direction is when I finished my run this week, this was after that portal opening. You know, there's portals that are always opening in terms of expanding more and more, just like we are. And I just took my pods from my ears, and the first words that I heard very instantaneously were, "You need to will it so." So what this has actually brought up in terms of introspection for me and to share with all of you were that now we really need to know how we will make things happen. And the first thing is knowing what the desire is by cultivating that life force energy that we create this divine passion so that we will feel where the energy is moving towards. When you are the sacred servant of spirit, and the part of my group soul is the Shekinah. So these are the the carriers of the sacred feminine, the sacred tantric life force that brings and births for life. So the Shekinah sisterhood, in a way, like I've shared with you before, the tantric energy moves through you. It is utilized always for the greater good. A lot of it goes for the balancing in relationships. There will be one more video coming on that note. That there's this equalization in terms of feminine masculine polarities coming together in an equalized union. So there's this great undertaking as a part of this Shekinah group that's in place. So either way, whatever kind of group consciousness, a group, a soul, particular, it's not an agenda based, it's not even a project, it's just serving the spirit with the uniqueness. So Spirit shared with me recently, because someone told me during our talk, like they said something like, "Oh, in spirit you're actually my big sister," you know, and I said, no, that doesn't exist, because in truth, in the white light, with the unison of the white brotherhood, everything is seen as one project. It's a one purpose, it's one mission, and it's all to serve the sacred life force. And that life force is created through divine love. And we just have different venues and angles from where we approach from source. So let's say there were beings who have been incarnating upon this planet to do their own service, and a lot of them have maybe forgotten a bit who they were during that process, and there were other beings who weren't involved through incarnations during this cycle after the fall, but they did most of the jobs. You know, like I said, it's one mission, it's one purpose, it's unified. It's not yours and mine in terms of white brotherhood light. No one sees things like that. It's all a unified mission. It's just the understanding that there needs to be different approaches. There's different levels and particles of creation. So when this took place is maybe you have someone coming from the upside down, and you know they might have greater divine remembrance in terms of their undertaking, but that won't make them any more or less or such things. So when we start working with the white light, we will feel that unification more and more. We will feel our brotherhood and sisterhood in terms of accepting the uniqueness. So I've just recently heard someone say that in truth, it's not like us just being of source, but actually being of source and with source. So this also explains that uniqueness that I always talk about. So to be of source is not just to be in union and you are just source, you're also in a unique individualized counterpart of it. So therefore you are as source and with source simultaneously. And I love that explanation because it's exactly how it is. And that's the whole reason and purpose of all life in creation. It's how we master, how we learn to master our energy and cultivate it. So when you start walking this path, so the first thing, of course, as I've shared with you before, is to purify of all false beliefs, all agendas, all manipulations. This is quite an undertaking for a lot of humans on this planet. This has been so enmeshed that they don't know where to begin. We don't know where to start. And if you've ever gone outside or did research, you know, there's so many different projects and agendas being discovered, and you know, false theories and conspiracy theories that you can get lost in all the research. You don't know where to begin. So basically, when you start walking your own path, you will just start approaching your own mission from inside out. So I was shown that there is a lot of people who are approaching this mutual project from the outside in. So they're sharing all this information, they're doing external research, they're bringing facts to the matter about things that that weren't even acknowledged before, how much the whole web of this falsified light grid was to control the human race, was to keep it in terms of these beliefs that they created for us, the rules they created for us, for the race, so they could actually do the steps that, you know, the controllers wanted us to take. But in truth, is that you can also, and those of us who are luminaries, we work more from the inside out. So we work behind the scenes, we work with the principle of light in our own terms, we work with the sacred life force. That this life force, when you learn how to cultivate it, to gather it, and then use it for the greater good, you just allow the spirit life force of all, like I've said, of source, but also your unique aspect, your unique individualized I am presence to flow through you. So you feel at the same time you are source, you're all, but you also individualized part. And that part is claiming, and it needs to claim its own mastery of that life force. And that's why I was given these words. You need to will it so. Because there's a part of us that still somehow believes that there will be external authority. Almost like, let's say you want something, but you're still waiting for something of the outside to give you a final clue, a final message, a final realization. You're always waiting, so you're always pending, and you're always using that as an external excuse not to fully step in your power. And that's why Spirit said you need to will it so. So to know our will is first to know when we're not in our will, when we're not free. To know our limitations, to know where we maybe are still not free, is to bring power to those aspects instead of lying to ourselves and believing we're already free and we're living in this matrix and never working on what needs to be freed up. So I'm going to give you one example. Every time I've pushed a bit more through the matrix with my expansion, there was an opposition coming towards me, which was a key reference point to that level of that mastery that I was stepping at that in that timing, in that timeline. So each time I was activating a new timeline I've stepped into, and each time there was an opposition. Let's say I felt the expansion. I knew that I'm on this higher consciousness at this time. And at that time, I simultaneously got messages of assaults, complaints, very negative things happening, but there only came as a slight tiny wave. And each expansion that brought me further and further into a more elevated state actually made me more aware, and the wave was tinier and tinier. So it's actually losing the power of the grip that before you might have believed it has over you. It's just tiny reminders that maybe a part of you is still in the system because you still live in this world, but you're breaking through more and more. That's why we have to be brave and courageous enough to claim the sovereignty and to question every single thing that we're given from the outside. I'll share more about this with you soon. In the end, we will do a short summoning of our life force to claim it, to own it, to kind of give ourselves this rite of passage that we are ready to use it for the greater good of all. You know, like in Star Wars, we have and we talk about the Force, but the Force can be used for the greater good, or it can be used for darkness, for your own power, because to want power in that degree is to either think you are less than your source, so that's why you need the power to kind of become more, or you think you are more than your source, so you want to kind of dominate. So either way is detrimental to the true nature of who we are as divine beings, who are of source and also unique aspects of source. Okay, so what I want to talk about claiming your timeline is because you see on this planet there's so many different agendas happening, there's so many different things. And the more you will feel this peace, like I felt as we started this new year, more leveling out, more peace. It's like, because the greater mastery you gain within you, it's true that even in the whirlpools of all this, what's happening on the planet, you will feel this great peace. You'll feel how it is to be a safe harbor between all that's happening, you know, in the middle of all that's happening. So in truth, it's not linear what people believe it to be progression for, from 3D to 5D consciousness. And someone recently said to me, well, the third dimension represents duality. Well, we move into the fifth dimension, it's unity. And I said, no, it's truly not the case, because in unity, consciousness is the seed of who we truly are. It's the seed of our union to exist as the true sovereign beings of divine love, as we were first created of Source and the extensions of Source. So when we really start awakening that level, it's not even a level, it's just the truth of who we are, we will see that the seed of unity can be anywhere. That's why when you go in any dimension, in any reality, you will witness both. You will witness examples of unity and still opposing, you know, these different agendas taking place when different aspects are still playing out the games of duality. So to master polarity within yourself, and I do have a course on mastering polarity and twin soul consciousness, and more things on that note, always in my videos, of course, between the lines, you will see that it's really not about joining any kind of something you're giving on the outside is the truth, because in the end you will be so much guided within you to start relying on these things that are waking up within you as the indicators of what is true and what is false. And sometimes people are afraid to see that because it would shatter the world they have been so diligently creating for themselves, and they're afraid. So that's why awakening for most is happening like in the steps, because if it happens all at once, it would be too much for them. It would ruin the ground of everything they have faced. They have built the template of the reality on the very basis of their existence as a human. So that's why for many people they're choosing to go at it slowly. You can also say, I want to know everything at once, but your soul will know. You can will something. But when I talk about willing something to do so, to be so, means it's for those of you, it's for those of us who are already in alignment with the greater good. And when you are, anything you will about, it will already flow through that greater good. It won't be anymore that dualistic nature. So when you think in terms that you say third dimension is necessarily duality, so when you see yourself as your human body living in the third dimension, you would then constantly be bound sorry for that, bound to the nature of duality. So that's the belief could be, well, as long as I'm in human body, I will not know unity. That's not the truth. And you believe, okay, I need to move into the fifth dimension so that I can finally be in unity. Fifth dimension itself does not imply there will be complete unity consciousness. It's just a different realm of experience. So you need to see the difference between the seed of consciousness, which is unity consciousness, which can exist in all, it's beyond levels and planes of existence. It's always there. That's the thing. So those of us who are awakening, there's Buddhas and Krishnas and Jeshuas of this world. They're all indicators of those seeds of that unity which has awakened itself, including in the human body, while in the human body. So still having the body, that third density form, but the seed has awakened, and once the awakening begins, there will be a process of soul alchemy leading to your physical ascension more and more. So as we merge through the understanding of what it truly means to be in unity consciousness and allowing it to flow through us, instead of assigning unity consciousness to a particular realm or experience, then you're always in that pending state. Okay, then I will be in unity when I get to this. How will you get it? Who knows when? You're waiting for the planet to move in the dimension. Okay, then you wait for the whole planet before you become your master. So you see, these are tiny little hooks that can get a human mind to have these still projected beliefs that won't fully keep you in your mastery. So that's the whole point. I know it's not easy for most of you. For a lot of you, this is very natural and organic. For a lot of people, this is like what she's saying. I understand that, because when we start to ponder and reflect on all of these things and allow Spirit to show us things, and where these distortions are still in place, a lot of times we might be shocked and we go like, wow, is that how much I was in the matrix? But that's the whole thing. It's where the mastery will come. It's learning to break free from it on all levels. So let me get back to the claiming of your own personal timeline. Is when you choose your timeline beyond what you're being told, like some new agers are saying this about our reality. Okay, we're in a linear motion, we're moving from 3D to 5D. That's the basic story. Or some say from 3D to 4D, whatever. And I've heard people talk about it to say, am I now in the 4D or am I in this? It's still mental, yeah, the mental processing. It's choosing your own timeline. What are you choosing? When you choose Ascension, even though when you look around you will have conspiracy theorists, people saying this, people saying that, these are timelines they might be choosing. These are timelines, some are the karmic timelines, some are the whatever timelines they're choosing them because they're also sovereigns in a way. Even a part of them might not feel as a sovereign, but they're choosing it this way. So what will you choose? That's why I say it's so important to claim our life force, because our life force is the most powerful thing. It's our spirit self speaking and being and engaging through us with all life, and choosing on that highest level of serving the light of unity. So as we do so, we basically will be presented with that which, like I said, we will it so. It's not like you say, okay, I want to be in unity consciousness, but the planet is so messed up. What am I going to do? You know, things like that keep people stuck in the perception that they cannot claim their mastery until conditions are such and such, which is very trivial. It's something that we don't understand how powerful we are, because in truth, part of us is afraid of our majestic greatness, and we think we can only do certain things and are capable of certain things, but the rest no, because we're still a part of this consciousness, the collective, blah blah blah. Well, the collective is there for us to break free from it. It's a testing ground. It's a playground, so you can burst through that bubble, you know. Okay, so choosing your timeline, it's choosing the reality you will give your focus to. Although you know that there's other simultaneous timelines always unfolding, because this is a multidimensional aspect of different layers and particles of the fragmentation that's all of us, all the souls, all the realities and experiences these souls are having. And you might hear from many people that the majority of the people on this planet are suffering, and that as long as you're in the physical, there's always a degree to suffering. Well, in partial cases, that's true. It's because we haven't waken up to the truth of our true organic divine state. As long as that is so, that will be true. But it's not the ultimate truth of all that is possible as a divine potential. But as we start to engage more with the co-creator part of us, that means a complete sovereign. Because we're not just a source that's having these different experiences, we're also unique particles. And that I amness was always birthed as that experiment, how the uniqueness of light will come back into its power of love and start creating through that love, through that life force, which always flows from the unity of all. So let's say that out of everything you're hearing, and I've shared with you before, there's so many of these theories and agendas, and I've watched many of the videos and read many of the things as well. But I always read them in terms of, wow, that's really interesting. But is that the timeline I'm choosing? And then I tune into it and say, very interesting, but that's not my timeline. I respect it, I honor it. I really admire the people sometimes who give their courageous wills and these efforts they put into all that's being shared to actually, you know, put the veils out of in front of people's eyes, and that's really beautiful. And I've had my own experiences when I've uncovered a lot of that, when I've felt things, when I've seen certain things that are being presented, even in the spiritual realms, especially in the spiritual realms, it can be very dogmatic. So there's almost like they give you 90% of the truth, and 10% of the truth a certain spokesman will use that will be actually influenced by certain rulers or the agendas, and they might look like a beautiful being wishing everything good for you, but they don't even know the other forces working through them. And I've seen these things, and as I've seen them, I've been waking up more, and I've had threats in my dreams. So because of the unity, everything is connected. They can come, these false entities, these beings who are basically needing the life force of those who are of the light of unity to actually basically survive in this world. That's why they're using it this way. They come and they will threaten you, and they did threaten me in the dreams. They said, stop doing this, stop saying these things. And I'm like, okay, the benevolent forces of true love never speak that way. It's like beings that operate within the law of one, which is the law of divine love. They never would use such a tone. They never threaten. They're always benevolent. They allow everything to unfold naturally. It's like purity of spirit. And I know, and then when I know that this is so, then you know also you're onto something. So you need to break free, rather than just keeping things at the status quo. And I've been seeing some patterns, is that there's a lot of these spokespeople who have even millions of viewers. And I've asked myself, in this planet of such suppression, because when you wake up to the fact how deep it goes, you will see that it's basically impossible to have these people have such a strong influence if there's not something also working behind them. You gotta start asking yourself these questions, and you feel into it, because people who are now at this point on our planet, how spirit shows me, sharing the truth in purity, they're only going to be in small groups. It's just how it is. So I don't want to mention any names. That was never my agenda. It's not really, it's just my own experience, but I share with you, as you will increase your life force, that life force will show you things which often you'll be like, ooh, shocked. But the shock is only going to be temporary, and it will ask you to open your eyes deeper, to gather and then cultivate your life force, to see through things. You know, like in many of these movies, there were beings who believed someone because they showed such a nice face to them, and then in the end they ended up betraying them. So that's also part of showing us that that's also part of this reality. Not everything is always as it seems to be. So open your eyes, really open your eyes. There's so many confusions out there, because what they want to do is they want to keep human consciousness fragmented. So, you know, let's say there's people who are saying one thing. There's even people who are exposing the dark agendas, but they're still within those dark agendas, if you know what I mean. So you can get so confused. In the end, like I said, it's not about that. It's about you choosing your own timeline and creating this 0-point field within you, which is that unity consciousness that says, I am claiming my life force and I'm claiming my timeline that I choose, and this timeline is for the ascension, the white light of unity, and to serve all life in creation with pure benevolence and pure trust in the source of which I come from, and the source which is the unique I am that I am. So you will see that a lot of this confusion coming, it's like different poles from different sides of the equation, is to keep us fragmented, is to keep us polarized, just like different religions, right? That all say our gods are right, but theirs are not, and all these things. It's to keep us fragmented. The languages keep us fragmented. Every single thing is to keep us fragmented. And before we can learn to cultivate this life force, step in our mastery, create the unity within, so that the whole, you know, the reality around us will reflect that, because we're bringing seeds of that and basically becoming independent beings. And as we do, nothing anymore can govern us. We're free. So this is a step, it's a process, you know, these are different steps of freeing ourselves up. And they begin by us actually inquisiting everything, questioning everything, simply everything. Everything you hear, look into the energy, or do remote viewing. You know, we can all do that. Just tune into it. And I knew things that I always knew that I know. And I saw like people who tuned into me, and they, at the same time, they tuned into me and that which was false. And I knew that I can't do anything about it, because it's not my job. It's just my job to keep that essence. So for a lot of you who are working on that note, it will be enough for you to just stay put, to anchor that truth. You don't have to verbally speak it out or to share it, because for a lot of people this has created a lot of mishaps, because they have actually been wanting so much for everybody to know. Maybe not everybody's yet ready, so they got this pull back, and they got almost like a ripple effect that wasn't always positive for them, because they didn't know how to just embody this truth. So when you know that you know what you know, just embody it, because you will become a pillar of that. You will magnetize that which also wants to be in the light of truth, because those aspects also say, I also claim my life force and to be free. I also wish to remind you that it's not just seeing this as in terms of these different aspects and distortions and then how unified them. It's also seeing that the polarity, just feel the polarities always, you know, like the yin and yang always has these different seeds, or the same sides, two sides of the same coin. Like, imagine someone created this event, which we first perceive as negative, but then something positive comes out of it. It's because there's always light, even in that darkness, because the darkness is not the opposition of light, it's just the forgetful part of it. But even in that forgetfulness, in truth, there's always knowing. There's always truth, even behind things that you would say are false. The essence of it. I'm speaking about the essence. I'm not saying, you know, don't listen to what I'm saying so much just on the surface, saying what she's saying now, people, you know, that say lies, no, that's the truth. No, I am saying that the truth is the essence of all life in creation. And even that which is distorted, it all began as truth. The essence of everything, underneath everything, is truth. So as we go so much deeper, as we go so deep within ourselves, it's the only way. And to move through our own inner demons, which are just a part of every collective demons that we kind of see on the outside, is these thought patterns, right, that are diminishing, that are abolishing the life force, that are going against life force and everything that's natural, and are self-critical and are not compassionate. These are all inner demons. So we first got to face those. Then we can say, okay, what's happening in the collective? Even that, it's always going to be about how you master yourself as a spiritual sovereign. So let's do that short agreement. When you, whatever kind of position you want to sit in, and imagine that you are nothing but pure source. But also feel the individuality that you are, because you were meant, that part was meant to explore, was meant to co-create and explore what it has co-created on greater levels. and just feel the benevolence of it and feel how it's all of pure love. And the more you start to get aware that everything is that love, the more you want to be a part of it, once again, even if there are parts of you that have forgotten. And with that knowing, you want to claim back all that love. And all that love is bringing you all the life force. So when you sit like this in any kind of position, breathing deeply, imagine how everything, every power you've ever given away is now coming back in you, and you are becoming like the hub for that energy, like a powerhouse, like a storage of that life force. Feeling yourself as a great majestic being that does not need the power, the outside power, to control or dominate, manipulate, but the power of simply being the power itself, which is the power of love. And as you gather all this energy, you allow it. You're cultivating it with every breath, with every choice you're making to align with that sacredness of true love. The only pillar of creation that is the most essential essence, divine love. You're feeling how you're coming back, how you're feeling your body starts to buzz more, it starts to elevate, you're beginning to feel the sense of elevation and freedom. So the more you gain this life force, the more free you feel. Even if not yet directly in your body, because sometimes the more energy flows into you, you might feel a bit oppressed first, because you will want to expand your wings then further on. That's okay, it's just a stage. Still, just allow it, welcome it back. And say to yourself, I am a spiritual sovereign. I am source, and I am that I am. I am ready, I am fully capable, fully sovereign to cultivate my sacred life force, to use it for the greater good. And I now rightfully claim my life force, my spirit self, all of me, the all that is, in the purity of divine love. I am the master, I am the initiate of spirit, and I devote my life to sacred service to that life force and the white light of unity consciousness, the great mother and father of all life, and me as a divine child, a beautiful aspect of all life and creation. And I choose my sovereign timeline, and I choose that which I feel deeply resonant within my own sphere of being, no matter and regardless of what I perceive is happening on the outside. Because to be a master is to choose, is to rightfully choose my freedom. And I choose my timeline. And when I'm ready, and I'm fully ready, I choose the timeline of ascension. Here now, always, multidimensionally, with all of my being, with all of my love, with all of my divine passion to serve. So be it, so it is. Take a moment to just let that sink in, and know that you're doing such a great job by freeing yourself up. You already put out the emanation of freedom into the all, because you are a part of all. So I hope this was helpful. As always, so much love, wisdom, and power. For those of you who like my videos, who feel supported with them, there's a free app that some people made for me. Very nice of them. You can download it at the App Store. And that's it. It's just to keep me on the go if you like that. And that's it. Thank you for supporting, donating, and sharing your feedback with me. So much love, wisdom, and power. As always, take care. I love you all so much. Be free. Be sovereign, because you already are. Bye-bye.
Welcome into